it's pretty cumbersome. But if you're keeping exotics, it's good to have an emergency stash. Whether even if it's expired, even the stuff I used for the Bushmaster bite, it was I think it was 15 years expired, and it did the trick.
So you got bit by Bushmaster, a fucking, which is gnarly. But what was your first venomous bite?
My first venomous bite was in May of 2009 by a Borneo tree viper, and I just had this big, huge Indo shipment come in that week. Had South Africa too, so just things were chaotic, and I remember it like it was like it was yesterday, and I was actually packing it up to send to a friend in Pennsylvania, and I wrote on the bag, careful, I bite. Well, make a long story short, there's just a bagging mishaps with the snake, and the snake bit me in the thumb through the bag. So
right,
yeah.
And then how big was that bite? Like, I mean, how big of an effect did that have as far as like you having to get rushed to the hospital? Like, what happened? What was the after effect?
I didn't, Borneo tree vipers, especially that it was a male. It was probably just a little over a foot, like a fuzzy feeder. So it didn't have the, luckily it wasn't a female, because the females on those get huge, the Panesius.
Yeah.
They get enormous. I mean, I've seen females over 3 foot long, and their heads are, just massive. I mean, they, rat pups. So, it was good that it didn't dump that much venom in, but still it got me on the thumb. And I got 2 vials of antivenom. I spent the night in ICU, and, after that, I was like, next morning, I'm like, get me out of here, man. I got shit to do. So.
And what year was this?
That was May of 2009.
So that was 2009. This fool's getting bit. So wow. Okay. So 2009. What, we were 20, 23, 20, yeah, 23, 22. How old are we?
I was 20. Yeah, I'm 35 now. So
yeah, you're 85. We're the same age. So me and Joe is the same age. We 85 all the way. But I was not doing the shit he was doing in 2009. That's for damn sure. I mean, only dangerous shit I was doing was taking ecstasy with shrooms and a bunch of shit. But which I'm glad to be alive for that, and I don't recommend that unless you're.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no antivenom for that, man.
So okay, so 2009, your most. I mean, that was your first.
Yeah, that was the first. That was the first envenomation. Just that. Accidents happen. It's not a. It's not a badge of honor. If people, when people ask about it, I have no problem talking about it. I have nothing to be embarrassed about because, shit happens. You work with electricity enough, you're gonna get shocked. And it's the same thing with venomous. It's the same thing with venomous snakes, man. When you have a collection like I do, and then when you deal with the number of stuff that I have and done, it's, one slip up, that's it, man.
But listen, you're in that game because you understand that you're in that game. Like it's kind of like you can't expect somebody to be like, or you can't expect a sport to be like, all right, I want to box, but I don't ever want to get knocked out. Like that's the thing. Like I'm down.
Well, exactly. You gotta be prepared at all times. You gotta have your protocols in place.
Yeah, you do.
If you have access to antivenom, have it. Make sure it's coded. Have that. Have like the sticker, with the name on the cage where the animal's at. So that way, you know what to do because, depending on what species it is, it can render you unconscious in, a little under a minute.
So 2009,
yeah.
What was the next bite after that? Was that the Bushmaster?
No, next bite was in October of 2017. And that was more or less, that was the mild bite. Was it two fangs? Yeah, it was two fangs, and it was actually from my this real nasty fertile ants that I have. It was about a 4 foot female, and I was going to feed it, and she just, like fertile ants are, typical Bothrop. She just, she wedged herself up against the corner of the cage, and when she struck, man, she just got that. She got that extra couple inches, and just got my. Where did she get me? Oh, she got me on the right hand pointer finger. And that one, that one kind of, obviously, getting bit by any venomous snake is dangerous and, of concern. But, when you start getting into the bothrops, that's really concerning. Just due to what venom.
That's really concerning. Yeah.
Yeah, no, man. That's there's just a host of issues. Cerebral hemorrhaging. You'll start bleeding internally. I mean, a lot of things could go wrong very quickly. And
right,
especially with the size of that snake. I mean, that's a straight up killer, man. I mean, they kill people in Central and South America. So, yeah, and of course, my luck that day. Right after it happened, it started like pouring down, raining, and I had one of my buddies drive me to the hospital, and I called Captain Scott Mullen on Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. He was working that day, and I called him and told him what happened, and said, I said I have 3 vials of Costa Rican polyvalent. So I said right now, Scott, it's pretty localized. We're on the way to the hospital. I said, but it hasn't started spreading too much into the hand. I'm like, so when we get to the hospital, we'll just evaluate it, and we'll see what we'll see what's going on. So by the time I got there, which was less than 5 minutes, maybe a little over 5 minutes later, we it started spreading into the hand, and just due to the severity of the bite, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue has they have their air fleet. They have search and rescue, and they have their medevac helicopter. So Scott hopped on a medevac helicopter and made the if he drove with lights and sirens, it would have been a 45-minute trip, but he cut that 45-minute trip down to like 15 minutes by flying up on the chopper.
Right.
So I kind of got had that VIP, because it was funny. Like I got, they put me on a stretcher and they wheeled me in and stuff, and I'm completely conscious, and I'm telling them what to do and stuff. And this doctor comes in and he's like, hey, who are you? I'm like, I told him my name. He's like, oh, are you like, he's like, are you like important or something? I'm like, no, not really. Why? He's like, oh, well, they just landed in a helicopter. I said, yeah. I said, I know him. It's all good. That's just how we roll down here. Everybody looks after everybody.
This is typical shit. Fuck.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
All right, so at least I'm assuming it's leading up to the meat and potatoes right here, the Bushmaster, right?
Yeah, that it's weird too. That Bothros bite was in October, and then the Bushmaster bite was was this past October as well. And man, that was scary. That was definitely scary. For as bad as it could have been, luckily I had the proper antivenom on hand, and that definitely saved me because just even I look back and even with additional antivenom on the way, if I didn't have my own stock, I don't know if it would have. I probably would have been unconscious by the time they got there because I was already slipping into it when
I remember that.
About 15 minutes after the bite.
So you get and this is at the point where the nurse didn't want to give you the antivenom yet because it was expired or something like that, right?
Correct. The doctor, and she was a super nice doctor, young, and she's freaked out because here's just this guy that's just walked in off the street and just said, yo, I got bit by a Bushmaster, here's what you got to do. So, I'm telling a medical professional what to do.
Well,
but in fairness to them, they don't get advanced, treatment on snake bites in med school. It's all, basic, and, they got to follow, poison control guidelines, and, it's just a lot of red tape. I mean, it's government shit, and when the government's involved, there's always red tape.
100% every single time. There's always going to be some sort of hot fucking mess you don't want to be in when the government's involved.
No, it's just it always turns into just a shit show, and delays, and and that's what it was there. They were hesitant because it's expired. And I said, talking about, deadliest snake in the Western Hemisphere. I don't care if it's expired. I said, if it's 50% potent, that's better than nothing. And, I don't want to sit here and keep going into seizures and, having all that bad stuff happen. I mean, the whites of my eyes were completely filled with blood. Yeah, it was going downhill fast, man.
But you're able to pull through, right? You ended up like telling them, like, ended up screaming at them almost at one point, right? Tell them to
yep, I did. Yeah, it was. I felt the lights going out one by one, and even though people there, were my dad was there, and he was talking. He's on the phone with Captain Fob from Miami-Dade. Also, Ernie Gilson, who is the co-founder of Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. Ernie's a personal friend of mine. He was on too, and I just knew that if I passed out, I wasn't going to have control over the situation, and I wanted to still be in control. Telling them what to do, because these people were more freaked out than me.
And that's a bad thing. So if you're not around to keep anyone calm or to tell them what to do, you're just fucked. I mean, who knows? You probably would have been done though.
Yeah, I could have been,
or like a vegetable or some shit. Something wouldn't have been normal in you. Like you would have, like something would have been.
Well, that's the thing with Bushmasters. I mean, you're not gonna, have super bad necrosis and stuff like that. They don't call them the silent fate for nothing. I mean, you just die. Like, you get bit, you die. I mean, except for the late Dean Repa. Dean survived, I think, over half a dozen Bushmaster bites.
Right.
And Dean's God rest his soul, but he was a legend, man. And